Welcome to my very first podcast. My name is Gia Fey, and today's episode is called She is Woman. We'll be talking about building your gal squad and the importance of why you should do that. I'm so thankful to have you with me right now. With your help, I want to create a community of women who want to redefine who she is. And that's why I've created the acronym SHE, S-H-E. She is for soul, H, she is heart, and E, she is energy. We've been taught from a very young age what a woman can and can't be through family, friends, and especially the media. Each episode, I hope to tackle another subject that will help you break down those old ideas and ultimately better your life so that you're able to empower others to do the same. Estoy tan excited para estar aquí con ustedes. So excited for this first episode. I hope you will subscribe, rate, and review so you can help me build this community of strong, powerful women. I want this to be a safe space for women to be vulnerable and honest with each other to create the change we want to see in the world. So I'd like to start this first episode by introducing two of my closest gals, and that's why we're releasing this first episode on Galentine's Day. Kirsten, who started off as one of my personal training clients and now is a huge part of the Body by Gia team. She believed in my vision to empower women after feeling empowered herself from working out with me. And Tiffany is my ride or die friend who has been there through the good and the bad. You'll find out how both of these relationships have evolved, the challenges we have overcome, and what keeps us united throughout the years. In a recent Harvard study revealed, women with strong social circles are more likely to succeed in anything they put their energy into. They're also more likely to succeed in getting higher paying jobs. And we're all about empowering each other. And the only way we're going to be empowered is if we start making the big bucks, right, girls?
Right.
You will learn through our stories how to find the right people to support your dreams and how to be that person in other people's lives. So let's talk about first, how and why. Why do we need to build this gal squad? You know, Galentine's, first of all, was created to bring girls together who, number one, are single, like myself. I'm the only single of the bunch right now. But I feel like guys have been doing this forever. You know, they have Super Bowl Sunday. They have, guys weekend in Vegas, which who knows what happens there. But that's why, you see these really strong communities of men.
Right.
But why do you think that we need to build that gal squad? Besides the fact that the recent study already told us we should, ladies.
Oh, gosh.
What do you see the importance, Kirsten?
It's not just for the good times, it's for the bad times. Like the study says, you absolutely need to have girls in your life. You need a network of friends to help pick you up during some of the most traumatic part of your lives. Really, without that, you're much less likely to get over or to overcome most of those obstacles. I know for me, that has absolutely been true. In the times of my life when I have focused too much on my relationship and neglected my female friendships, I really set myself up for failure. And that is something I definitely don't want to repeat.
Right? I know. When I got married, I literally left my state and I traveled the world with my ex who played basketball. And I know that was actually the most depressed time that I've ever had in my entire life because he was my world. He was my everything. He literally was who I talked to every day. And when those hard times came, I felt so lonely. That's actually when I fell into like a depression.
Right.
For you, why do you think it's important to build your gal squad? Now that you're in one right here.
And it's so cool to be in one too, because I didn't even see as it was developing. I didn't even realize I was in a squad. And then I realized we're those girls
that
I would see and be like, God, I had close girlfriends at times, but then as you know, like relationships can kind of make you feel like, oh, I just need this one person. And that's so not true. I mean,
so not.
Your girls are there for you just to bounce ideas off of, like, hey, do I look better in red or blue? Or do you like this? Or what do you think of this stupid argument that I just had? And it's so nice just to have somebody listen to you and just chat with.
Yeah, I mean, hearing each other's stories, having women that will be comfortable to be vulnerable in front of you. I always think of the girls from Sex and the City.
Yes.
They're like they were my gal goals.
Yeah.
And now I have those gals, which is so cool. You know, we actually, the way that we first met was we took a trip to Rosarito Beach.
Yes.
I had built the relationship with Kirsten because I had started training her. And, you know, as a personal trainer, I build great relationships with my girls because we're empowering one another. I'm empowering them physically. And I know they have been there for me when I've just had emotional breakdowns, you know? So our first trip, though, to Rosarito, you guys remember that?
I remember when Kirsten said, I was like, you know, I'm feeling kind of down lately. And she's like, you know, it would be cool if we went on this trip. Let me ask my friend Gia, who's training me right now, if she'd be down. And that was the first time I met you, is literally when you met at my house and we all jumped into a car together.
And don't get me wrong, I was afraid because, again, you know, I've had a past where, you know, girls, you know, we'll talk about that too with toxic friendships too and how to identify them. But I was scared. I had never met this girl. We're going to go on it was just a 3-day weekend, you know, with something that was uncomfortable but still safe enough to where it's like, it's not going to be like a 2-week vacation with them, you know, but it's scary. And I think that it's important to get out of our comfort zone if we want to build this gal squad. You know, a lot of us are afraid because we've been backstabbed or, you know, through movies we've shown girls are catty and competitive. And yes, that is actual facts, you know, and we'll talk about why, but it's facts, but it shouldn't hold you back from making that friendship because as we've all shared right now, if you don't have your gals when you're down or when you're, you know, going through difficult breakups and things like that, because what happens when that guy is gone? Now you have nobody to talk to. Like I said, after my divorce, I had nobody to talk to. I was so lonely, and my parents, I mean, that's a whole nother episode of toxic parents. You know, they do the best that they can, of course, and we always want to show love and compassion. But I think it's important to build that gal squad if you really want to succeed in life, if you really want to overcome the challenges. I mean, we all are going to go through challenges. We're all going to have, you know, we're all going to get fired sometime in our life. We're all going to get, you know, dumped or cheated on or whatever it is. And I think we have to get out of our comfort zone in order to build those relationships. And I know that I did when we went on that trip. But it was the best trip I could have taken because look at us now, 5 years later, and we're shooting this podcast. Our first episode, I have both of them on my first episode, which I'm so thankful that my girls were able to support me. And trust me, this was not an easy start. This was not just let's record. We literally had technical difficulties for the first 3 hours.
You're looking at the crew. This is the crew. Technical crew is right here.
The beginning of She Is podcast. Now let's talk about just like how to identify some of the, you know, some of those toxic friendships and kind of why it starts. You know, I think a lot of us girls are scared. I know me, I was such a tomboy growing up because I thought, oh, girls had backstabbed me in high school. They were always either trying to steal my, you know, the money I had, or not that I had money, but I'm saying they had stolen money. I had friends trying to steal boyfriends. And, you know, back then I was so hurt and I just thought girls are so mean and I just don't want to have girlfriends and they're just all mean. And then I became a personal trainer and a spinning coach and it changed completely. When I started helping women get better with their bodies and empower their minds physically, girls were finally nice to me, which is why I went down that route. I was like, okay, if I train girls, they're going to be nice to me, you know? But I go back to why those girls are like that. And I think that we need to show compassion towards those girls and, you know, recognize that we are probably going to be those girls once in our lives. You know, in my 20s is when I started to get really insecure and dating a basketball player. I got really insecure and seeing all these girls just throwing themselves at my ex. It made me kind of, I mean, I'm going to say it. I hated girls for a while. I never would imagine I have these 3 amigas. If you're watching this through YouTube, these are like the most beautiful inside and out girls I could have possibly attracted to me. But I mean, it really took me getting out of my comfort zone and recognizing why they're like that, you know, and I had to do it by me owning up to why I was like that. And I recognized it came from a place of insecurity. It came from a place that, you know, through the media, we have always been told to be competitive with each other, and we're always competing with each other in movies, which is another goal of mine. I want to write some really amazing short films to show that women can actually empower each other, and the benefits are real. But also just really taking it back to where it started. You think of the European women that came out here with their husbands. I mean, their husbands were literally cheating on them with, you know, the black slaves at the time, and they couldn't say anything. So I think the beginning of women on women hate has always been Men are literally the common denominator, and we love them. It's not that we're, segregating ourselves. We're not man-hating, but the truth is we do have to recognize where this comes from. And the more that you know, the more you're able to change your perspective. And shifting your perspective is the only way for you to start to shift how your world looks like as well.
Right.
So identifying toxic friendships for me, I've now realized, girls that are, again, in a place of insecurity and are bashing other women. I had a friend recently, last year I went to the Bahamas with her, who is no longer my friend because I had to set that boundary. She was insulting all my friends, all my beautiful influencer friends. And, being in the social media influencing world as well is a whole nother conversation. But that's a way to identify those friendships, because when we're telling you to build your gal squad, you want it to be with other women that are powerful, other women that have evolved, other women that love themselves and are confident. Because if you're around other women that love themselves, that are confident, they're not going to be hating. With the friend that I had taken with me to the Bahamas, she was literally insulting every single girl that literally was a model. Okay.
Right.
And then at the end of the day, she was like, oh, I have to get all this work done. I'm going to get lipo. And so then I recognized it came from a place of projecting insecurities.
Right. And
have you guys ever experienced maybe owning up to that, those experiences yourself? You had talked about like your aunt.
Yes, because sometimes you have to check yourself when you're the toxic person.
Yes.
So this is a while back, and I was just being judgmental openly about some girl that my brother was dating, and I didn't think she was for him. And she said, why? And I said, well, she's needy and controlling. And she's like, well, those are the things that you don't like about yourself.
Oh, wow.
And it just
that's deep.
Seriously checked me at that moment. And I realized, wow.
Right?
Yeah.
And it takes a lot of courage to be honest with yourself, because we don't want to accept that about ourselves sometimes, even me, like realizing, later that it wasn't just that I was a tomboy and all girls were mean. It's just like, no, I had insecurities, And so what you project really is the things that you have to look at.
Yeah.
And a lot of us, I've had this conversation with people that are not ready to listen either. And, they'll deny it all the way. They're like, oh, that's not true. That's not me. And it's like, well, if it's coming out of you, here's the mirror, girl.
Yeah,
and
you always say the mirror thing.
The mirror. I truly believe
so
we
true.
are a mirror to each other. Everybody that comes into your life is a mirror and a teacher. Everyone's heard, everyone that comes into our life is a teacher.
Right.
But it's basically they're the teacher because they're showing you the mirror.
Yeah.
And if you have a booger in your nose, you want to take that off, know? So you have to make sure that you're able to have the courage. And I think courage is like a muscle we develop. It's not something that people are like automatically they're going to accept their truths, but it's a muscle that you develop. And the more and more that you practice courage in everything, me practicing courage and actually opening myself up to girls, as far as like friendships, me having the courage to start teaching, teaching when I first started teaching fitness in college. I was so insecure. I wasn't even like, I didn't have a six pack, I didn't have the typical trainer body, which was the whole inspiration of Curvy Girls Fitness, like my Body by Gia brand. And it was just, I really having the courage, but I know it's cheesy to say, but everything that you want is on the other side of fear. It really is. And any situations for you that you kind of like, that somebody maybe checked you or that you saw it in someone else of being that girl?
Yeah, absolutely. I think some of my worst episodes have definitely been when I was in a very toxic relationship and I could feel people pulling away from me because there's just so much negative energy coming out of me. I almost sort of had to self-quarantine after a while to preserve my friendships. But, coming out of it, I had the opportunity to apologize and to make amends in those relationships. And I'm just so grateful that people gave me a second chance because, again, you can't invest yourself completely in a relationship and let all of your other friendships wither away. You need that support system and that foundation. So I realized I was that girl and some people cut me off and I cut myself off for some people just to save them. Fortunately, it was a shorter episode and I was able to come back from it. But I did learn what warning signs to look for in my personality and that I absorb my environment. And I need to surround myself with positive, inspiring people at all times because I'm a sponge. I think a lot of people are sponges, and that's why we have to watch what we exhibit as well as what we need to cut off in the way of toxic people around us.
Yeah, and like I said, one of the, for the acronym, she is, E really is, she is energy, Albert Einstein said it, so it's not that we're just making it up. People really do feel and absorb their energy. I know after I left my toxic relationship and I tried to surround myself with other powerful women that were not sitting there complaining about their boyfriends all day long. Those girls that would come to me and it's like, oh, he's cheating on me, but you're taking him back. I was that girl too, and I actually would pull myself away from friendships, which is kind of when Tiffany and I actually had a fallout, was I was so depressed, I didn't even want to put that negative energy into people as well, so it's like really, understanding that we are energy, that people will absorb it, and you want to be the positive energy that you want to receive as well. Not that she is always perfect, because that's another thing is, I think, with the whole purpose of this podcast is to open up a space to talk about she isn't perfect. Today's the first day of my period. Trust me, I woke up grumpy.
Yeah.
The podcast, we had technical difficulties for the first 3 hours. Like it was, and it's okay. But what really did help was having my 2 girls with me today on this first episode, helping me get through it, talking about, hey, it's okay, take 57, it's, and I think it's beautiful when it comes to building a gal squad. If you see other women that are frustrated and that are not always like happy and everything's perfect, like you allow yourself to accept your own flaws,
right.
And not that we want to sit in that space either. I think that I really, really have wanted to build my patience and, acceptance of myself. And I think it's something that's constantly evolving.
Yes.
We're on this planet to be better every single day.
Yes.
Accept the things that we cannot change, have the serenity to accept the things you can. That's like the AA. I didn't even know that was the AA mantra.
Yeah,
yes.
It applies to
so much. And having the courage to change the things that we can. I know just in fitness, I will hear moms all the time like, oh, well, you're fit because you don't have children. And it's like, no, I mean, I know lots of fit moms that, do it. And not that it's, I don't know if it's easy to do everything all the time, being a mom, being a businesswoman, being a wife, all together, that takes a lot of energy. And I don't think there is a perfect woman out there doing it exactly right. I think even the most perfect, quote unquote perfect person, I think even that person has struggles. That person is gonna need help. And it goes back to why we need to build a gal squad, a solid squad. And I'm not talking about those friends that just will sit there and talk crap all day long. Those misery loves company too. So be careful not to build a misery gal squad. Not that you want to cut those friends off completely too, because, we've all been there and we don't want to be cut off either. But I think for sure learning how to set boundaries.
Right.
So with some of my friends like that I've had, my younger friends that will sit there and talk about toxic, relationships, I set those boundaries, and learning also when to cut them off. Unfortunately, I had a friend I took to the Bahamas last year that, I saw as, she was just talking negative about every woman and talking about just the projecting. I eventually did have to cut her off because that, when I did confront her about it, and I tried to do it in the most loving way where I'm like, maybe you shouldn't talk about girls in a negative way. What is that? Where does that come from?
Right.
She instantly attacked me in the sense of like, oh, well, you're just this and you're that and you're, and it's really, really hard also just to make friendships in this social media LA world.
Right.
Because, you will meet a lot of fake friends. And again, it's not that they're awful people. It's just they're not people that have evolved. They're not people that are secure with themselves. These are people that just have not found their gift or their purpose. And even that takes time.
Yeah.
Nobody just wakes up with their purpose. I didn't know what the heck I wanted to do. After I graduated college, I was like, I'm just going to keep training and teaching spin classes is, and I'll figure it out. And that's another thing I will say is that your purpose and your dreams will always come find you. You know, you want to be able to identify them with your heart. Your heart will tell you everything. Your heart will tell you if you're doing the right thing. Not that it's always going to be easy. Trust me, building a fitness business has not been easy at all. But because I loved it so much, even the struggles, I was able to push through it. And now really building my gal squad.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So it's really important for us to learn the boundaries that we need to create.
Right.
And when we do need to cut it off. Have you guys ever had to cut off someone that it hurt?
Oh, definitely. I mean, like giving space to someone too, and just having compassion to know that that person could be hurting and they're in a bad space, and through any kind of efforts that you've made, maybe wasn't successful, but you have to just be understanding that they're not in that space and they're not ready for that.
Right?
And so,
Yeah.
yeah.
Because it's just like a relationship, you know?
exactly.
You can't force yourself on a guy. Trust me, we cannot change a man. I have learned that through the hard way. But just giving them that space, you know, and if they continue to just kind of either flake or whatever it is that they're doing, you have to come to a place where you're kind of like, okay, well, I've tried, I've given it my best. I'm going to show you compassion, good energy. And then you just move on and you do stick super tight to the girls that are empowering you. And these are women that have already kind of, like I said, they're on the path of self-love, of self-acceptance, because I also don't think we are 100% self-accepting. You know, we have years and years and years of you know, the way that men have identified us and the way we've been told to be. I think that we're still on a constant struggle. I mean, just shaming girls. I used to think Kirsten, like nothing bad, but I was like, Kirsten looks so expensive, right? If you see this, if you're seeing this on YouTube, you will see this girl looks expensive. And I used to feel insecure and I projected that because I was like, oh, that's just, she does so much and her lashes and all this stuff. And I realize now that I love my lashes now, I realize how fun all this girly stuff is. But I realized back then I had to be honest with myself and I was just projecting it because I wasn't taking the time to do all that stuff.
Right.
You know, and it's never a time that you have to kind of, you know, shame a girl for what she loves to do. And you do an amazing job. Her makeup's always on point.
I love that
her hair is
about her.
always on point. And that's why I'm so happy she's on the Body by Gia team.
Yes.
Woo-woo. And now let's talk about just 3 tips for you guys to take in order to build your gal squad.
Yes.
So you've already heard a lot of our relationships have not been perfect. You know, Tiffany and I had a fallout. You know, even Kirsten and I had a fallout, and it was only because she was in a relationship that was toxic, and you know, she kind of isolated herself. And also me, I was trying to move on from a toxic relationship too, so I didn't really want to surround myself with other women in that same space because it wasn't helping me grow.
Right.
But let's talk about 3 tips that you guys can take in order for you guys to start building your gal squad. And again, the importance of it, because without that gal squad, yes, you can achieve some of your goals, but you can't achieve your highest potential without the gals, because there's gonna be those days you're gonna be unmotivated. Trust me, there's days I go days in a row sometimes doubting myself because my parents, it's a whole nother topic of toxic parenting. I love them. You know, they did the best they can. They came from another country, so it's very hard with the, you know, their traditional beliefs versus me as a modern woman. You know, my dad didn't support my business at all. Actually, still to this day, because he thinks a woman needs to just have children and get married and shut up and work in an office, you know? So if I didn't have my gal squad, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. Right. So I think the tip number 1 is that we have to be the friend that we need, you know, and check ourselves if we're not being that girl, you know, like, for example, like I said, you know, not having to sit there and shame another woman if she wants to take care of herself. That was something that I had to check about myself. What about you guys? Have you ever had to check yourself?
Oh gosh. Yeah. I mean, like sometimes it's like, oh, how come I never see this person? And it's like, well, do you reach out to that person? And sometimes I have to check myself and be like, look, who's putting in effort, and like maybe this friend always reaches out to you, and then the minute they don't, you feel it and you don't like it. So maybe the issue is that you need to plan to reach out to somebody and be a good friend to them and see how they're doing.
Right?
Yeah.
And also, I know Tiffany's gotten so much better. I will say this now. Again, this is an honest, safe space. Flakiness.
Yes.
Being the friend that you need, being flaky, it does hurt people's feelings.
Oh, yeah.
And having to recognize, she's gotten so much better since I first met her. But it's okay now that I realize, that I've learned compassion, that I've realized I have to just wait till she gets to that space.
Right.
You cannot force someone to be the friend you need either.
Right.
I think that that's something we need to talk about too. I cannot force her to be like that, but what I can do is I can express my feelings in a positive way, and I have, it hurts me when you don't, you cancel on me, like, we've talked about this, and as long as you're able to, again, have that vulnerability,
right?
The vulnerability, even just how you said how Kirsten and you guys met, she had the vulnerability to go up to you and be like, hey, I need friends.
Yeah, it was so cute.
Yeah, and that made you want to be her friend, right?
She had the courage to just be like, look, I need friends right now.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I was like, I need friends too. I just didn't have the courage or the guts to do it.
Yeah, and I knew I wanted to be friends with you.
Aww.
So I've been trying to create this gal squad for 5 years.
I know.
So, I wanted
she's like all for it. I love it. And this is why, again, she is helping me build this now. Yes. And now number 2 would also be just to, like you said, make the commitment to follow up, put it in your calendar, and stay flexible if that person's not ready to be, all in. Just like a relationship. You can't force a guy or a girl to want to hang out with you. You have to learn to be very self-aware so that you can read the signs. But really, it really helps. I mean, I have other friends that are influencers that are busy just as much as me. And what I do is we put it in our calendars 2-3 weeks in advance. We set up a workout. For me, it's always a workout and a brunch date, or we shoot a video, whatever it is. But it's something that you find a common ground, and whatever you guys like to do, hopefully it's something healthy and it's not a happy hour every time too. That's a whole nother topic of the alcohol. But as long as you guys are making the commitment, like you said, Tiffany, you have to go out of the way to also follow up, to text them, to call them, and set reminders. We all have Google Calendar. That's what I use as far as like reminding myself when I have events. If I didn't have Google Calendar, I also couldn't run my business. Time management will be another episode, ladies. And another great thing also, the tip number 3 that I can tell you guys that have really helped all of us has been to attend as many women conferences as possible per year. Listening to women podcasts like She Is Podcast, and attending them, because that's another space that you can put yourself in. Remember, we are energy, right? We are light connecting with other light. And I think that it's important to surround yourself with other women that are trying to evolve, that are trying to build each other up. Because yes, there's still women out there that want to tear you down. Yes, I mean, even Taylor Swift talked about it in her recent documentary that came out on Netflix. Women are the ones that actually bashed her the most. Either she was too slutty, or she's going out with, she's dressing slutty, or too many guys, or, why does she have opinions? She should just sing. Women are actually the ones that tear each other down, especially the older generations, and nothing wrong with the baby boomers, but they have to also kind of recognize that they were taught wrong. And we have the power to change it. And that's why I love women conferences, because women conferences, you're surrounding yourself with other women that have recognized it and want to be the change. Yes. Are there any, I know one of the conferences that I really loved was We All Grow Latinas. Yes. That one is such a great conference they have every year. And it's about different topics. Business women go in there, actresses go in there, and they talk about their struggles, because really sharing your struggle really, really does make a difference with empowering yourself, right? Yes, any other podcasts that you guys, or any other podcasts or women conferences that you guys really have
oh my gosh, there's this one that I love that I just went to called Passion to Paycheck. Turning your passion into a paycheck.
Oh, I love that.
And it's women in media, marketing, TV, sharing their stories and how they got to where they are, and then reaching out and having one-on-one conversations with you about how to build you. And it's just it's such a supportive environment, and it's a place where women can connect.
Oh my God, I love it. Dude, that one's another great one. We're going to leave all these links also on the YouTube channel, Gia Fey. Go ahead and follow the YouTube channel as well so that you can see those links. And then anything else that you want to,
there's your seminar on
Oh,
Sunday.
yes. I know. I did start my women's circle once a month on the second Sunday of every month. We're actually coming together. If you want more information on that too, it will be in the YouTube channel, but it's She Se Puede, sisterhood. And what I'm trying to create with that space is just uniting women of all colors, white, black, brown, purple, yellow, all of the above, because the only way that women are all going to rise is if we all come to support each other. You know, we break down the old beliefs of competing against each other. Women, we're not doing ourselves any justice. You know what I mean? So let's work on empowering each other. And I really, really hope that this episode, which was my first episode, we got through it, you guys. She Is podcast is going to be coming out once a week. So hopefully you guys will please comment on the YouTube channel, subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye. Bye.